thank you very much. You're a cheerful-looking lot. All right. How are you at home? Good. Kidney condition? Don't worry about it. Just one of those little electric pads right there. It's bliss. Fantastic. Look, I tell you what, I've got a fantastic dish for you. And seriously, on behalf of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, I welcome you. On behalf of my husband and I, today I'd like to do Treacle Tart. And Treacle Tart, which comes from the Hind's Head at Bray-on-Thames, and that's where we're going to today. Fantastic spot. If you've ever gone up the Thames, punting your way up the Thames, you come to this, a nice bird in a mink, with this mink reflected off this polished bar floor. And there we are. Actually, that nice bird's my old wife. Oh, my young wife. Darn it. And she's sitting here because I was with the chef. I never get into trouble anyway. The way I play is, with chefs, is there in the kitchen and just have a great time, and she's just having her grapefruit juice and soda. And this is the old gable. Isn't that a beautiful roof? I don't know. I mean, I could have almost eaten the roof. Now, this is the Treacle Tart. I want you to know that this is the first time in the world, that's Mr. Gardner, by the way, not the Treacle Tart. He's the owner of the place. This is the first time in the world that this recipe has been allowed out. And it is great. It is so great that Queen Elizabeth II went to this pub and ate this with all the crowned heads of Europe, which I can prove in a second. I've got a crowned head myself. And this gorgeous old lady, young lady, is pouring a little cream, English cream from the udder, from an English udder. There it is, over the top of that Treacle Tart. And now watch it. This is my first experience with a Treacle Tart. Ah. Yes. Well, I felt I had to. You know, she finds it so difficult to eat waving around all the time. There you can see the guest list on this fantastic day in which they all turned up in a coach, in a charabanc, as they call it in England. All the crowned heads of Europe, dozens and dozens of them, turned up in charabancs, great white coaches, like other people I know. And they arrived, and Giles, the famous cartoonist, did a fantastic cartoon. See? Coaches welcome, mind the step, and your language, which I thought was a brilliant thing, and I'm glad you liked the piece of film. I'm absolutely thrilled. Now, on the question of watching your language, which we must all do, and we must understand this, because this is the airwaves of the great world in which we live. See, not so long before that time, and it really was a few years back, two knights were clip-clopping down an English country. Understand, clip-clopping means that they were riding a horse. Down the English country, well, you never know, language can be difficult. And so they were riding down there, they were in full dress armor. And they stopped by the side of the road, and one of them pushed his visor up, like that, to a yokel who was down by the side of the road. "Hey there, yokel, was thou seen a goodly company of knights pass this way, richly caparisoned in shining armor, with pennants flying, and mounted on milk-white steeds?" "No, sir, I ain't." Oh, clink, clip-clop, 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 a little bit further on, another yokel by the side of the road. "Hey there, yokel, was thou have seen a goodly company of knights pass this way, richly caparisoned in shining armor, with pennants flying, and mounted on milk-white steeds?" "No, sir, I ain't." Okay, so they were just riding on a little bit further and came into the village square where the Hind's Head at Bray was, and then right up to the landlord who was polishing his pewter outside his pub. And right up to him and said, see, language. Hey there, landlord, was thou have seen a goodly company of knights pass this way, richly caparisoned in shining armor, with pennants flying and mounted milk-white steeds? Whereupon the landlord said, "No, sir, I ain't." Whereupon one knight turned to the other and said, "I wonder where the bloody hell they've got to." This, first of all, you have to take a piece of wax paper. Now, it's most important that you take a piece of wax paper for two reasons. One is because the recipe is written on the wax paper rather badly. Yes. 3/4 of a pound of butter, 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. That means you can do almost anything with it. And then, oh, a little salt. Isn't that fun? Half an egg. Incredible what chickens are doing these days. And 1/4 cup of milk. Right. So then that makes this. Now that's the bottom crust. Now you do have to have a good bottom crust for the Queen's pastry. So you place this down on the top there, you get a little flour, and you dust that wax paper with a little flour. This is then popped down on the top, popped down on that side, and I'm so glad you're keen on this. And this you then roll out with a pin, which, incidentally, this is a fantastic rolling pin. It was just because it was coming undone. This comes complete with all-purpose flour. Somebody's done something to my... What? They booby-trapped me. Oh, that's a booby-trap. I'll meet you after the show. Well, that's nice, isn't it? I'll say that for straining my soup through. Fine, all right. Well, and generally there's an all-purpose flour in there. Right. So you get this incredibly short pastry, and you roll this out until it looks roughly like Africa. I wish that's where I was now. Okay, so having rolled that out, and then you pray. And this is the reason why you put it on wax paper. Now, what you need for Queen's pastry is a false bottom. Now, this is just, this is the thing, and you just grease it slightly, and this is rather a mucky process, but nonetheless, here it goes. Clarified butter, slightly warmed, and then just roll it round. It's lovely. Actually, it's marvellous. Hey, that would be rather weird, wouldn't it? No. Never. So you first grease your bottom, and then just take this whole sheet of pastry out. Now, what you have to do with this is pray a lot. And you just flip that over the top. Now, you've got to then tear that back, and it should billow like a sailor's hammock. And this is then... You had to treat this with tremendous care, if you'll forgive the expression. And this goes round, and it's sort of sealed around the outside. As you quickly push it down like that, and it falls down around the outside, and then you just get your rolling pin and just go like that. It's all off. Now, that is the bottom crust. And that is different from the top crust, because the top crust is really unbelievable. Are you interested in my top crust? Are you? I'm so glad. You just take a fork in your right hand, and you prick the bottom of that like an enthusiastic hen all over the bottom until it's well marked. So that's it. So you prick the bottom. Right, now over here I have the illustrious beater. This is a 1.5 horsepower beater, which is all right for 1.5 horses, but isn't much good for anything else. Right. So you take... Oh. So you take that's 4 ounces of butter there, and there's 2 ounces of fine sugar, which is called fruit sugar in Canada. Right. And then you just put the two together and you cream them together. Brilliantly made. You just wind it up to full revolution and stand back. Sneaking up on it from the rear, you cream together your butter and sugar. Just like that. Now you put into that 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, no, cake flour. Now the most incredible thing now happens. You take half an egg. This is... It's quite easily done. Works brilliantly, I tell you. You think that I'm making mocks, don't you? But no. Now, you just let that go around a little bit more, and you'll look at it and say, that's never going to make pastry. And you'll probably be right. But what happens, you see, is you make it about an hour before, and you flash over to your fridge and you pull it out. Now, I've got several bits of pastry in here. I'm not quite sure what it is. These fridges tend to give birth to the most incredible things. Yes. Which one shall I use, left or right? Oh, I don't mind. So you just get this one down here. Oh, it's amazing. It really comes down and looks great. So you take this and you put that on one side because I don't want to use that yet. Then you take here 2½ cups of breadcrumbs, which is a terrible bind. But you've got to make fresh breadcrumbs yourself. Then you take 2 cups. I'm remembering everything, isn't it fantastic? 16 fluid ounces of Tate & Lyle's golden syrup. That's the thing with Her Majesty the Queen's coat of arms on the front. It's pure, golden, lovely treacle, what you just simply pour into the middle of those breadcrumbs, and it looks absolutely heavenly, like a jeweled crown it looks. It's really quite simple. You just turn a pot upside down and pour it. Now this, of course, this is the secret to the success of this dish, which incidentally isn't in the least little bit fattening. This is stirred around, and you see, it brings back, and whilst I'm doing this, brings back to mind, I was at Brighton College in England. I was a public school boy. Nice, and I had a report which said I was the cleanest-minded boy in the school, which I'm sure you obviously can realize. So, as a result of which, I became, well, I had a prefect, and I had to sort of run around after this prefect. I won't tell you what I became, because in the English public school system, you are a fag, and you wouldn't understand what that meant. It meant that you are, in fact, a servant of one of these larger boys, who is about 16 and spotty. I broke his butter ration. It was during the war. 1 ounce of butter. And I gave him my £2 tin of Tate & Lyle golden syrup. And if you're watching, you swine, he took my £2... You did, you didn't you? You took my £2 tin of Tate & Lyle's golden syrup, and you beat me for a month. I've still got it now. Here, look. See? No. No. Which fills in time, and having got the golden syrup fixed up there, you then get hold of the bottom part of the tart. I mean the pie, the crust. And this, you then just shovel that stuff into the middle. Now it all lays down like that, and you press it down. Now you think, I tell you, Her Majesty the Queen said... No, she did. She said, on behalf of my husband and I think this Treacle Tart is without question of doubt about it the finest treacle tart in the whole British Empire. Even in that far-flung stretch of the empire that we now call the United States. And so it is. It is quite the most fantastic thing you've ever tasted in your life. Right, okay, so you just brush around the outside with that, with a little egg white, and now... With a little help from my friends, we will get this out. Now this is the pastry, and this is rather a super piece of pastry. Now all you have to do with this is just simply to shatter the board with a little flour and press down with your palms of your hands. Don't entrust, yes, don't really. So with a knife, you just cut it off the board and put a little more flour down there. Now, with the rolling pin, you just turn it, if you can, and turn it again. This pastry that I made over there, you'd never believe it. It really is. I mean, as far as pastries go, it is regal. So having got that, and then you measure that against that pie. Now you're going to get that up onto there. Yes. No, we'll see. We'll see. Steady. 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 Now you shovel that underneath with a knife. Then you try and move it back a little bit down the board. Now you bring that up there. Now with a nice broad-bladed knife, you shoot that half under, and Hitchcock never had it this good. And over! Okay, right. And then you roll out the top of that pastry over the top there, and that cuts it off, more or less. Now you have to be a bit careful with this, because you then just trim it round the outside there, and it all comes around the outside. Now then all you have to do is crimp it a little. And to crimp something, which is normally applied to the curtains, is you just go around with your thumb and forefinger or your false teeth. And this is just turned around there until you've nicely done it, and then you just make steam holes in the top. Just all over the top there like that. And then you take hold of some yolk of egg. And this is the real gilding of the lily here. And you slosh it all, colour me curiously yellow. Oh, have you seen it? I don't like that sort of thing. I like to eat my popcorn without stuffing it in my ear. It's very difficult for me, you know, to eat things like that. I like an ice cream cornet. I don't know whether you've ever eaten an ice cream cornet. One of those things. And I can't do it anymore. It's no good. I can't look sort of sophisticated, you know, with an ice cream cornet in one hand and a bunch of lollies in the other. This is... Okay, so you pop that away 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, or thereabouts. So you pop it in the top, and this fantastic range that you never believe, a range, the Royal We. What you do, you open it up and it's ready. Right. Oh, yes. Thanks for surprises. Here, where's me thing to put it on? Who's pinched me thing? Where is it? Me crystal thing. Oh, well, who needs a crystal thing anyway? So what you do... Oh, there it is. I see. Yes. Now, what you should be able to do with this, you should be able to push your hand up underneath and... Oh, what I do for you. Oh. There it is. Oh, I tell you what I forgot to do. Then you flash back over here and get this out. Oh, that false bottom's terrible. And then you just take a champagne glass with some caster sugar and just sprinkle it on the top. So you just cover that on the top there. That's fine. That's all right. And then you whack that back in, because I've got to keep this thing going, because we're not that well off and we have to eat what we cook on the second one. There it is. Britain's Treacle Tart, just for you. Now, this is really fantastic. It is the most incredible combination of pastries. That's fine. Look. Oh. And you can have cream on it if you like, but I can't because I'm forsworn. No. So this is cut off, and it's, in the words of the British, actually quite spiffing. I mean, you put your jolly old spoon through it, and it absolutely melts. It really does. It's quite good. Oh. There's no southern pecans in there. There's no blueberries, there's no junk, there's no pumpkin pie spice. It's just pure syrup and breadcrumbs, the staff of life. How the British Empire really grew up and made the scene was through Spotted Dick and Treacle Tart. And this Treacle Tart that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II made famous, and all the crown heads of Europe. Thanks for being with me. God bless. How do you feel eating in front of people?
Nasty.
Oh, it does, yeah? Is that... I always wondered, with long